Floating heads, zombie crew members, and big black cats would turn this Star Trek The Original Series episode into a Halloween special event. But what's the story behind the episode Catspaw? Well, today we'll find out. Hello and welcome to Backtrek, a web series that focuses on the background information of any given topic in Star Trek. In today's episode, we're continuing our spooktacular October event by taking a look at the Star Trek The Original Series episode Catspaw to better understand its place in Star Trek history. Star Trek The Original Series had been renewed for a second season, and with Halloween coming up, Gene Roddenberry wanted to mark the occasion by actually having a Star Trek Halloween special, laying the groundwork for this spooky episode. Robert Bloch would write the episode. Having written the TOS episode, What Are Little Girls Made Of?, Robert was no stranger to Star Trek. Nor was he a stranger to the horror genre. Having written many horror stories, including the hit novel Psycho, Robert seemed the logical choice to pen this Halloween masterpiece. Bloch would go on to write one more episode of Star Trek, Wolf in the Fold, but became so disillusioned with the management of the show that he would refuse to return to write any more episodes. Actually, Bloch would base this episode on a short story he himself had written years before called Broomstick Ride, changing the title to Catspaw, which itself is a term that describes a person used by another as a dupe, referring to McCoy's line about how Scotty and Sulu are used as catspaws to lure more crewmen down to the planet's surface. Being the first episode filmed and completed for Season 2, even though it would be the 7th to air, Catspaw would mark several changes to the show itself. From this point forward, the episode titles and end credits are in the same font as the main title of the series. Directors and writers for the episodes are credited at the beginning of the episode just after the episode's title, and DeForest Kelley's name was added to the opening credits. Also, Gene Roddenberry would add his name to the opening credits as series creator. Walter Koenig would join the Star Trek family in this episode. Donning a ridiculous, oversized, and obvious wig, he would go on to don his natural hair once Gene Roddenberry had deemed it long enough for him to do so. This episode was also the third and final appearance of Michael Barrier as DeSalle. The intention was to bring Michael back and place him in charge of main engineering anytime Scotty was in command of the bridge. However, because that situation never arose again in any episode, DeSalle never made another appearance. Some Trek trivia for you all. Catspaw's production would also mark a few minor changes to the bridge set, which included the addition of a scope to the engineering console, as well as a circular control dial added to the left side of Spock's science scope. To bring this episode to life, Antoinette Bauer would be cast as Sylvia, while Theo Marcuse would pop on screen as Korob. Antoinette Bauer is a German-born British actor. Amassing a ton of guest star roles throughout her career, she would appear in such shows as The Twilight Zone, Mission Impossible, and Murder, She Wrote. She also starred in many made-for-TV movies, including See the Man Run and The Cowboy and the Ballerina. At the making of this video, Antoinette is still alive and well, at the beautiful age of 91. Sadly, Theo Marcuse's story would not end so brightly. Theo had served as a lieutenant in the United States Navy during World War II, and had been awarded the Silver Star Medal for Valor in combat. Having entered the television acting world in the 1950s, Theo was always described as having an excellently expressive face. He would have minor roles in several famous TV shows, such as playing one of the Riddler's henchmen in 2 episodes of Batman, and appearing in 2 episodes of The Twilight Zone. He also appeared in the Elvis Presley movie Harem Scarum. A little bit of Trek trivia for you all. The wizard's robe worn by Korob is the same costume that was previously worn by Bob Denver in the Gilligan's Island episode Lovey's Secret Admirer. About a month after filming his role as Korob for Star Trek, Theo died in a road accident in Hollywood. He was 47 years old. Catspaw has always had an interesting reception in fandom. Not loving the episode, but also not hating it. Generally speaking, everyone in fandom often refers to Catspaw as the Halloween episode, so I guess in a way it achieved its goal. Many goofs can be seen in the episode, especially in the original broadcast form. For example, the witches scene was supposed to be all about floating heads, and so the actors wore black turtlenecks and were filmed against a black backdrop, with light shining directly up upon their faces. Unfortunately, the effect just didn't work, and the turtlenecks worn by the actors can be clearly seen. Even in the remastered version of this episode, it's still noticeable. The remastered version, however, did fix one problem present in the original broadcast version, that of the marionettes seen at the end of the episode. Composed of blue fluff and pipe cleaners as well as various other materials, the marionettes used thick black threads to control them, and they were clearly visible in the episode. This would be corrected in the remastered version. Well, mostly anyhow. Rumor has it though, if you watch this episode on a dark, stormy night, you might just be able to see leftover fragments of the thick, black string. Catspaw might actually solve an interesting issue that has existed in fandom since the release of Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. Giving us a stardate of 3018.2, that would place this episode between the first season episodes The Menagerie Part 2 and Shore Leave, placing it many episodes before Space Seed. And since Chekhov is clearly seen in this episode, it could explain why Khan remembered Chekhov, as he was clearly aboard the Enterprise during that time. I know, convoluted, and yet still very true. One final piece of Trek trivia for you all is in regards to the detailed metal prop miniature of the Enterprise that was created for this episode. After being laminated in lucite and kicking around in Gene's office for years, Roddenberry would end up donating it to the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum. So what are my impressions of this episode? Well, watching it again for this video, I enjoyed it. Sure, it wasn't the biggest breakout episode, and it does have some problems with it, but in terms of 45 minutes of my lifetime, it was a truly enjoyable Halloween romp. And maybe that should be good enough for all. And so, on October 31st, after all the trick-or-treating is done, I'll pull close the bowl of leftover candy, turn out the lights, and be transported back to the land of witches, wizards, and huge black cats, and I'll enjoy every minute of it.
Captain's log, stardate 3018.2. Crewman Jackson is dead.
Captain Kirk, there is a curse on your ship.
Temperature, sir. It keeps rising.
We're burning up, sir.
Captain Kirk!
As I was.
Stop!
Thank you for watching today's episode of Backtrek. What do you think of the TOS episode Catspaw? Would you rate it a hit or a miss? Or like me, just an enjoyable holiday outing? Well, leave your comments in the section below. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, hitting that little bell icon so you won't miss a single video we release. Want to help the channel escape the clutches of these horrific marionettes? Then consider becoming a channel patron. A major help that allows this channel to purchase resources and 3D models to keep it going. The link to our Patreon account is in the description below. Thanks again for watching. Live long and prosper, if you can. Mwahaha!